Hello, beloved. Welcome to another episode of the Preparing for Pregnancy After Loss podcast. This is your host, Natalie Facey. And if you're new to the podcast, this is where I share tips and tools and resources for the not so easy pregnancy journey. So those tips, resources, and tools are for you if you've experienced any challenges on your pregnancy journey, whether that be infertility, pregnancy loss, and infant loss, or a really challenging birth that has you afraid of becoming pregnant again or giving birth again. So my work is here to support you on that journey, support you on your fertility journey, support you during your next pregnancy, support you during your birth, and support you in your personal rebirth. It is always such a pleasure to have you here. It's always such a pleasure to be connected in this way and to move towards what feels like greater and greater expansion and greater empowerment. And so welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you've been here for a while. Lovely to have you as always. All right, so in today's episode, I am going to be chatting about the spiritual bypass and the dangers of the spiritual bypass. You might know what the spiritual bypass is, but might not have a name for it. And it's essentially when we use spirituality as the excuse or the reason for not acknowledging human experiences, human pain, human trauma. If you consider yourself to be a spiritual person, then you might have heard this saying, or you might have even repeated it yourself, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I do consider myself to be spiritual, and I've said those same words before. I've heard those words said, and I've repeated them. And it really comes from this belief or this understanding that we are greater than what we're experiencing in these physical bodies, right? We are from some other more expanded place, and we have decided to incarnate on this planet to have this experience as humans in these bodies on this planet that we call Earth. But even as we're having this physical experience that we might call 3D in these human bodies, there's also the understanding that we are souls, or we are spirit, we are expressions of the divine, of the universe, of God. And so there's more to us than just our physical experience and physical bodies, right? And with that, I think there is sometimes this belief that if we are these spiritual beings, then we should be above the human stuff, right? The human stuff shouldn't impact us. And some of this human stuff is like pain and loss and grief and anger, anything having to do with any of the difficult emotions. There's almost this pressure that we might assign to ourselves, or this pressure that we might experience to not be bogged down or to not be impacted by the quote unquote human experience in a way so that it limits us, right? And just talking about that feels sort of weird, almost as though we're expected to be some superhuman version of ourselves. And as spiritual beings, we might feel that there is something super or superior about us, in the sense that, hey, we're having a human experience, right? All of these human things shouldn't be limiting us. And I'll go into that a bit deeper. So I'll just pause there so that we can take that in, right? The spiritual bypass and where that comes from. Physical beings having a human experience. And then what I'd like for us to shift our attention to is the fact that we're also human. We're also human. So even though we have incarnated on this planet as spiritual beings, we're also human. And so we will go through human things, such as the pain, such as the loss, and we will experience human emotions, such as grief, such as anger, such as regret, and love, and all the other beautiful ones, all the ones that are easier for us to work through. I'll share what, or a part of what my experience has been in terms of the spiritual bypassing. And this happened in my first pregnancy. Yeah, I was practicing yoga in that first pregnancy, and it was like an employee program being offered by my company. So I was able to practice yoga. I think we had like a midday session, or it might have been like an evening session, which was super convenient. And that pregnancy ended in a loss. And so I was out for maybe a good 5 or 6 weeks. And in returning, I saw the yoga teacher and let her know that I had a loss. And she was saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry that that happened." But I think I said, "It's fine, it happened. It happened for a reason. Everything happens for a reason." And I realize now that it was less like I was using the spiritual bypass because I didn't want to be in the grief with her. Meaning, it didn't feel safe for me to be sharing that space of grief with someone else. And so instead of allowing myself to receive her compassion, her love, and instead of allowing her to be in the grief with me, I quickly dismissed it. I quickly said, no, 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 it's fine. It's fine. We're okay. It's fine. Yeah. And so, in learning more about spiritual bypasses and how it happens, I was able to look back at my own journey and recognize, like, oh, like I have done that. There was a story that I held that these things happen for a reason, that even though I don't know what that reason was, I trust that it happened for a reason, and that what would come out of it, what would emerge from that in the end, was healing and beauty and love. And I still believe that. I still believe that things happen for a reason. I don't share this with everyone because each person's journey is different. So while I hold the belief for my personal journey that it happened for whatever reason, I won't tell someone that that's the same for them. One, I don't know what the reason is for everyone, but I can say what I believe for myself. And I also acknowledge that even if things happen for a reason, right? Let's say that this is true in my story, that did happen for a reason. The hurt is still there. The pain is still there and the loss is still there. So there is the ability that we have both to acknowledge that, yeah, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And maybe there was some soul contract between me and my children that, there would be a pregnancy that would not lead to a live birth, or there would be a pregnancy that would lead to a live birth, but would then lead to the baby making his transition. Maybe that was a contract. right? Or maybe the contract was not that specific, but maybe it was a contract around going through loss so that I would then be able to step into this role as the teacher and the space holder and the healer, right? Maybe that had to happen in order for me to fulfill the purpose that I had decided ahead of time that I wanted to fulfill on earth, right? So there are these, I can call them stories. There are these stories that I can tell myself, or there are these ways that I can fill in the blanks in my mind so that it makes sense in my mind. But I don't know that I will know for sure until I'm on the other side, right? Until maybe I won't know for sure until I'm on the other side. But in general, I do feel that these experiences can eventually become a blessing, right? There's this other quote or saying that I've had, which is that if we don't know the purpose of something, we can find meaning. So if I don't know the purpose behind something happening, if I don't know why it happened, then I can still find meaning from that experience. I can decide that that experience will not be for nothing, right? I can give it meaning and continue to walk this path within my life where those experiences, as painful, as difficult, as traumatic as they were, I create meaning from it. I create love from it. I allow that to be the thing that transforms my life and my relationships and my work, right? And so, saying all of that to say, there's some people who can say this happened for a reason and they can hold that conviction. And there are others who can say, I don't know why it happened, but I am going to ensure that good comes out of it. And wherever you fall on that spectrum, whatever resonates with you, then what I'm wanting us to bring into the space as well is the fact that the hurt is still there. And the hurt occurred in these human bodies. It's physical pain, it's emotional pain, it's mental pain, it's spiritual pain, right? It's pain and trauma, pain and a traumatic experience that impacts us at different levels of our being. And so for someone to say it's okay, it happened for a reason, right? That's one of them. It happened for a reason. It was all meant to be, or I chose it somehow. I chose this experience somehow. It that can become harmful if we use that as a way of dismissing the pain, diminishing the pain, minimizing the pain, or really saying that we're not supposed to be experiencing pain because we chose that. Like, whether or not you chose it, it fucking hurts, right? Whether or not you chose it, it hurts. And in that diminishing or dismissal of the pain, what happens is we're not tending to the parts of us that are hurting. And if we're not tending to those parts of us that are hurting, it means that the healing isn't done. And if the healing isn't being done and we're still holding the hurt and we're still holding the trauma in our bodies, it means that that actually keeps us from being the more expansive version of ourselves. So this is what's really interesting. A major part of my work, and you've probably heard me say this in other episodes, a major part of my work is supporting women, femme identifying folks in really stepping into their calling on this planet. And so, whatever it is that you came here for, whatever that is, it's really being able to step into that, to step up to that, and be the embodiment of who and what you came here to be. And what I've noticed is that what actually keeps us stuck is the trauma, right? And so we emerge as these brilliant, shining beings of light and love. And we come in so clear on the purpose that we have, so clear on the whatever mark we want to leave on the world, so clear on how we want to move through the world and how we want to contribute to the world. And as we go through traumatic experiences, whether it happens, during birth, whether it happens at age 5, whether it happens during teenage years, whether it happens through early adulthood, like at whatever stage the traumatic experience hits us, and we will not escape without the trauma. Again, because it's a part of the human experience, right? So at whatever stage it hits us, when those experiences aren't processed and healed, when we don't move through those experiences and find the deeper levels of empowerment and the wisdom from that, that is actually the thing that keeps us stuck. That is the thing that keeps us small. So I'm thinking of it in this way because, we're creating this separation between the soul or the spirit and the human, and we come in as an expression of spirit. We come in as the soul, knowing what we want to do, and our soul lives in these human bodies. And it's the human experience that actually prevents the full expansion, the full shining of the soul, right? Because whatever it is that we desire, whatever it is that we're doing, it has to be done through these human bodies, right? And so if it's happening through these human bodies, but the bodies are limited. And when I talk about limited, think of wanting to say something, but feeling so much fear that the words can't come through your mouth. And so that is sort of like a limitation, right? That is an experience of being closed in, locked in. And the reason why the fear might have shown up, it might have been earlier experiences of, being taught that children should be seen or not heard, or earlier experiences of being punished, or being taught that you were too much, or being taught that you didn't have anything valuable to add or to share, right? And so it's that trauma or those unhealed emotions still living in the body. And another example is, let's say that you're wanting to start a business, you're wanting to be an entrepreneur, be a dancer, you're wanting to do anything that involves being seen, anything that brings up some vulnerability for you, anything that requires support. And so if you've had prior experiences that reinforced for you that you're not worthy, or that reinforced for you that there's no support in the world and you have to do things alone, and unless you can do it on your own, you better not start because you're going to fail. Like, if you've had these messages, if you've had experiences that have reinforced these things, it means that it's actually really hard for you to move forward, because of how these beliefs and the stories that you're holding from these limiting experiences continue to hold you back, right? And so again, those are examples of how some past experience in this human body is now limiting the full expansion of who you're meant to be. How these experiences can now serve as roadblocks as your soul is wanting to emanate, as the spirit within you is wanting to expand. And again, it's because it has to happen through the body, right? As we're in this 3D world on this 3D planet, it happens through the body. And so, the separation between the body and the spirit, it isn't a real one, because the body and spirit are in partnership, they're in collaboration. And so we can't say that we're spirit having a human experience without acknowledging that both of these experiences are happening at the same time. There cannot be a dismissal of the human experience because it's happening in concert with the spiritual experience. There cannot be a dismissal of the pain from the physical experience and just highlighting or acknowledging the spiritual part of us. It's all parts of us. It's all of us. And so going back to the physical body and the physical experience, like that needs to be tended to. The healing needs to happen there. And healing on any level will support healing at the other levels. So whether it's healing on the physical, emotional, spiritual, mental level, healing at those levels will support the healing of the whole. Because everything is interconnected. It would have been better to not dismiss the hurt by saying, this was meant to be. By saying, I somehow chose this, right? Based on the work that I want to do on this planet, based on, me seeing and knowing myself to be a healer and a teacher, I had to go through some experience that would teach me what it meant to hurt at that deep, deep level, so that I am able to support people in their healing. And I would say those experiences have been such great teachers for me, in the sense that because I feel as though I have gone to the depth of things in my own journey, then I can be there with people like really, really comfortably. Like I can be with someone in the shadows. I can be with someone in the fire, because I've had to be there as I was there, right? I've had to move through that myself. And so it's a place of ease for me to be there. And with all of that, right, even if I had chosen those experiences so that I could step into this role of, teacher healer, it still hurt. And so the spiritual healing, the emotional healing, the physical healing, the mental healing, the healing on all levels still needed to happen, and it's still happening, right? Because we just go deeper, right? It's almost like hitting some layer and going even deeper and going even deeper and going even deeper. So I'm saying all of that to say, if where you are on your journey right now is, creating this separation between the spiritual and physical, if where you are on your journey now is saying, I somehow chose this, or this was meant to be, or everything happens for a reason, and therefore I should not be hurting, or therefore I should get over it. So there's this rational thing that happens where you're like, okay, I accept that this happened for a reason. I accept that I'm being protected by God. I accept that things work out in my favor. Therefore, I should not be feeling hurt from this. No, both of those things can be true, right? It can be true that this happened for a reason. It can be, yes, it is true that you're protected, and it is still true that you're hurting, because again, we're integrated beings. And so that separation between the physical and the spiritual, it's actually not real. We're whole beings, and so these are aspects of us. And if one aspect of us is hurting, then dismissing and diminishing that hurt actually impacts the other aspects of us. Like I mentioned in the examples just now, how the soul comes in bright and shiny and expressive and expansive, and it is limited by the experiences that we're holding in our physical bodies. And so it really means that on all levels, it's important to tend to our healing. And the other example that I'm wanting to bring up as it pertains to the spiritual bypass, and this one is even more harmful. It's when we look at people, and we look at the misfortune that they're experiencing, and we might say, oh, they're attracting that. It's their thoughts. Or someone says it to you, like, shit, like that hurts. It isn't fair to look at a person's experience and decide that because they're experiencing it, then they're attracting it. Because there's more that goes into what we experience, including sacred contracts, and more that goes into what we experience. And so if someone is moving through an experience, let's send them compassion instead, because we really don't know all of what's happening, right? The law of attraction is one of the laws of the universe that we know about. What if there's more? What if there's more to our experience as spiritual beings on this planet? Something else that's coming to me is there's a friend of mine who had a few different losses, might have been 2 losses, and a family member of hers told her that she must be cursed. And I definitely had a what the fuck moment when she said that. And like, in a way, I was not surprised because I've heard people say similar things before. Yeah, like I can take this to so many other places. But I guess where I'll take it today is there are different things that lead to challenges in pregnancy. So we can add that one of those things might be a sacred contract. And the other thing that's been happening across the planet is really all of the toxins that are a part of this world that we live in. Our water, or food, or clothing, or makeup, or body care products, the air that we breathe, the radiation from Wi-Fi, just so much. And so, yes, our bodies are experiencing different state of dis-ease and different conditions, different challenges as a result of the really toxic and polluted world that we live in. And so for someone to say that someone is cursed because they are going through pregnancy challenges, that's really, really harmful. Worse, a family member who ideally you'd be able to get support from your family members and not feel judged or harmed by them. I need to take a break with that one. It's a breather. So yeah, there are people who will look at your experience and say, if you use positive mantras, positive affirmations, like if you think positively, if you release your stress, if you do these things, then you will become pregnant because obviously you're the one who is causing your pregnancy losses. Yeah, you'll definitely encounter some of those people, and you can tell them to mind their own business. Yes, you can tell them to mind their own business while you mind your business. Yeah, and going back to the spiritual bypass, you'll find the subset of those people who tell you that, yeah, it's because you're not positive enough, it's because you're not hopeful enough. And it's hard to receive that. It's hard to receive that from someone, and in some ways, we also do that to ourselves, right? In some ways, we might also say it's because we're not positive enough. It's because we're not focused enough. It's because we don't want it enough. It's because we're not healed enough. It's because of some spiritual reason, something on a spiritual level that we don't have down packed, that we're not doing well enough. That is leading to challenges on the physical level. And I suppose what I'm trying to say is we don't know. We don't know. We don't know. Lots of things can lead to, while this bug is fascinated with this light bulb, making music in the background. Lots of things can lead to challenges in fertility. Many things. And it's not all going to be spiritual. It isn't. I do think that spirituality can be a pathway to revealing some of those answers, like tuning in intuitively, or receiving the support to tune in intuitively to the body, or being in a space where you're connecting to the body's wisdom. Right? So I do think spirituality can be a pathway to the answers. And sometimes it's like a physical test with your doctor, ideally a natural doctor, that can be the pathway to those answers. And so, can we just release all of that and meet ourselves with self-compassion? Can we just release all of the judgments and just all the things, and meet ourselves with love and care, right? So even if there is some spiritual component to our journeys, it's also acknowledging that if it happened in this physical body, then your physical body needs healing. If it happened with you as this physical being, then your physical being requires healing. And healing of the physical being supports the healing of the spiritual being, because all parts of you are interconnected. And so if you find yourself doing the spiritual bypass, just stop. Just stop and replace the judgments with compassion instead. If you find yourself saying, it happened for a reason, this is something that I chose on my journey as a human on this earth plane, and therefore it should not hurt as much, therefore I should understand it, therefore I should be moving through it more quickly and better and with more strength. Then no, just love upon yourself. It's human to hurt, and you're also hurting. And so give yourself the space, the time to heal. Give yourself the space and the time to be met by other people, to be held by other people, whether it is group spaces or one-to-one healing spaces. Like, really give yourself what you need for your healing. Because, like, that's important. It's necessary. And if it's someone who is saying those things to you, you know, I've worked with different people who have supported me in, you know, really seeing things from a spiritual perspective, and that was helpful. But if there's someone saying that because you are spiritual, you should understand, or you shouldn't be feeling it, or it's okay, you know, it was, if in those statements or in those words that are meant to be words of comfort, you're also hearing that you shouldn't be feeling what you're feeling, then that's not okay. That's not okay. And it has me reflecting on, you know, those people's capacity for their own pain, right? Like, I've often found that the people who try to discourage us from grieving, discourage us from really being in the depths of our pain and from really acknowledging what's here, it's people who are uncomfortable with being in their own pain. And so people use the tool of the spiritual bypassing for different reasons, but also know that it's not a thing that should be used to diminish your pain or to not go through the healing process. It isn't the excuse that should be used to not move through your healing, because it becomes damaging. If there's anything that's keeping you away from your healing, whether it's, you know, the belief that you are this kind of person, you come from this background, and therefore you are strong, and therefore you shouldn't be hurting, like, those things are damaging. And really it dehumanizes us. It removes us from our humanity. We are spiritual beings, and we're also humans. And so anything not allowing you to be human, anything that's taken away your permission to hurt and your permission to experience your pain, that is dehumanizing. Okay, so I think I'll pause here for now. I think I've said all that I wanted to say. And what I will leave you with today is really the encouragement to give yourself the permission to feel all of your emotions. Give yourself the permission to hurt. Give yourself the permission to experience the grief. Give yourself the permission to be human, knowing that even in allowing for the hurt, you are creating room for the healing. In allowing for the hurt, in giving permission to the pain, in giving room, acknowledgement, you are creating room for your healing. And there's so many tools for healing. There's so many ways that your healing can unfold. And it really starts with the acknowledgement, like, shit, this hurts. And no, my healing doesn't require a timeline. It doesn't have to be the 6 weeks. It doesn't have to be the 2 weeks. It doesn't have to be whatever. Like, my healing can continue to emerge and can continue to unfold. All right, beloved, I will leave you with that message today. I hope that it resonates, and if it does, feel free to share it with someone who might be looking for these exact words. I am sending you lots and lots of love as you continue to move on your journey, as you continue to reconnect with your wholeness. If you'd like to connect with me on Instagram, please do so. I am at the Birth Warriors, all one word, the Birth Warriors. My website is nataliefacey.com. My email is hello@nataliefacey.com. There's also the opportunity to schedule a free clarity call, a free 20-minute call, if that's something that you're interested in as well. And wherever you are on your journey, whether you are healing after a loss, whether you're thinking about your next pregnancy, whether you're pregnant right now, whether you're wanting to process and heal after a painful, difficult birth, know that I am here to support you on your journey. So feel free to book a free consultation. You can find that link in the show notes or at nataliefacey.com/contact. All right, beloved, wishing you a beautiful rest of the day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.